Happy Friday, degenerates, diehards, my gamblers. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the UFC 290 edition of the Sharp Action Report. We are joined by our friend Andrew from Superbook Sports, and we are going to get a peek across the desk, see about the sharp action, the public action, anything you guys need to know to make some awesome bets for tomorrow's UFC 290 event. Andrew, my guy, how you doing today?
Man, it's going well. I'm excited for another pay-per-view card. It feels like it's been a little while. The last few cards have been a lot of fun, but it's nice when you got more of the public action, and these kind of cards bring that. So this card, I'm really looking forward to it. We've already seen a number of pretty large size wagers and some sharp action as well. So yeah, I'm stoked for this card, and I can't wait.
I love it. This card is stacked. There's a bunch of big favorites, which always is dangerous for everybody involved.
Yes, sir.
Especially with the amount of dogs that have been hitting this year. It's a little nauseating to look at some of these numbers, so I can't wait to see what you guys have seen on that side of the table. First off, everybody, this is Pub Sports Radio. We are lucky enough to be joined by my guy Andrew from Superbook Sports. Make sure you give him a follow. Hit that like button here for us, and let's get right on into these numbers here for you. First fight of the night, Esteban Rivix taking on Kirk. There's been a large movement, it looks like, on the Kirk side of things since the open. I personally am on the Kirk side of things here myself. What are you seeing on this one, and anything we should know about?
Yeah, so this one, you're right, it has moved quite a bit. We opened Rivix at $2. We're currently sitting here at $155. So there's been some good movement. We did get an early respected bet on Kirk. It was at about plus 160. And now we finally did get some pushback the other way. We did take another sharp bet on the other side, all the way down at minus 145. So you got sharp action on both sides, but obviously it's because of the movement and the numbers. So that guy probably just said it's enough moving for here, and I feel comfortable at betting the favorite at this price. $2 was probably a little bit steep, and he's a little bit more comfortable right at this spot.
Okay. All right. I think that does make some sense. Obviously, I feel like it was a lot wider earlier, and that made sense to bite on the dog. Now there's some buyback on the favorite. So pick your poison out there, folks. If you like a side, you got an early on the dog, you're sitting pretty. Now there's some confirmed sharp action, making the line head back the other direction on Ribovic. So tread lightly on that first fight of the night. Next up, Aguilar takes on Shannon Ross. Another situation very similar to the last one. Feels like the dog has gotten a lot of love. And again, I'm sitting with some cash on the dog myself. So curious, one more time, what do you see on your side of the desk?
Yeah, so you're right. This one is very similar. So it opened up at 220 on Aguilar. It's all the way down to 140. So, I mean, that's a ton of movement. Clearly, the opening price wasn't where it needed to be. You usually don't get that much movement. We did get a really respected bet early on Ross. That number has long gone. So now we're sitting, like I said, at 140, and the guy had 50 cents of value. There's been a little bit of bets back the other way. Similar, no like notable ones like the last fight, but we're starting to get some bets on the other side as well. So yeah, it looks like this is closer to the correct line.
Gotcha. Now, selfishly, I'm happy that it's no, respected action necessarily, bringing it back the other direction. That first fight makes me a little bit nervous with the sharps buying back the other way. This one, I feel a little better that it's just, people are nibbling at the number now that it's dropped down this far.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for both those dogs barking early here. I'm not going to lie. Next fight up, we've got Terrence Mitchell coming in here against Cameron Simon, one of the biggest lines on the card, and we've got some big ones today, man. Cameron Simon looks to be about a minus 500, minus 550 favorite, and I'm very curious to hear what you see over there because everyone's picking him, but I'm not sure how people are betting this.
Yeah, so we opened this one at $4. It's sitting $5 now on Simon, and really there hasn't been too much pushback. I know a couple guys in the back think the dog has a shot, which I can understand. McKinney he's an exciting fighter, and I could see him maybe mixing it up in there a little bit, but the betting market hasn't agreed with them. There hasn't really been any movement the other direction. So as a bettor, that would worry me if you're taking a flyer on the dog. But Yeah, I mean, he's always got a pusher's chance, and I think Simon's a pretty hittable out there. And surprisingly, I thought we'd get more on this total. There hasn't been too much crazy action on the total. There's been a little bit on the under, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, that was one that I looked at yesterday. I was pretty interested in that total. I mean, the number seems a little bit steep considering how big these guys are, but at the same time, Terrence has a history of only fighting one round over the course of his
Yeah.
career, so under kind of makes sense, but the price seems to be about right. So I'm not sure I want to bite on, minus 170, minus 180 for a 1.5 total.
Yeah, that's probably what's keeping the players off of it. I mean, that is a pretty steep price to lay for a 1.5 total. So
It's tough to pay that if Derek Lewis isn't the guy in the cage.
yeah, exactly. Not the heavyweights; it's the lighter weights.
Yep. All right. Marcin Pragnio up next, taking on Victor Petrino. Looks like there's been a little bit of movement on this one. Both directions, it seems like. I've kind of seen Victor bumping around from minus 225 to minus 250. Are you seeing anything notable on your side of things?
Yeah, so we opened Petrino up at a 260. It did get a respected uh, bet early and on the dog, so it brought it down
Ooh.
to about, he bet it at plus 230. So this one's kind of bounced all over the place. It went up as high as $3 here in Vegas. And now it's sitting at 240. So it's kind of bounced around. There is a respected bet on the dog here, which I can see it and I understand the bet. But yeah, it doesn't look like he got too much value. You can still get a number pretty close to what he got. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm maybe the biggest Marcin Pragnio hater on the planet. So I don't like that on the dog whatsoever. I don't do much of the big parlay stuff, but this card feels like it's built for it. And Victor Petrino is probably gonna find his way into one of my parlays. So I hope he's not the buster here for the week. Cause man, if Marcin Pragnio beats me again, I'm gonna be
time,
unconsolable on Saturday.
time to call it on betting on his fights. I have a few guys where I'm like, I cannot get them right, and I just need to lay off. So
With
yeah,
with
I
how bad
understand.
he is, I'll need to just hang it up at that point.
Yeah, the one guy that comes to mind every time for me is Johnny Walker. Like, I was all bought in, and then he started losing a couple fights where I was like, I really thought he was going to win in this spot, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with him. I'm started to fade him, and then he started winning again, and I'm like, dude, I can't bet this guy anymore. I can't figure him out. So that's one that sticks to my mind for sure.
I hear you. That makes some sense. All right, man. Next up, we've got Edgar Chayres taking on Tetsuro Tyra. Now we're getting to the big boys, right? Now we're getting to
Hmm.
the 11-1 favorite territory. I can't help but feel like this line is a little excessive. Chayres didn't
Yeah,
look bad from what we've seen him so far, but at the same time, this is one of those spots where like it almost feels like you guys are doing the same thing we are. We're all picking Tetsuro Tyra to win, so you're just setting the number where hopefully people can't get as much juice in on him because even though the line is wide, still can't really make much of an argument here for the dog, right?
yeah. I mean, it's nice when you get some of these customers to come in and bet the dog, and then that kind of stabilizes the market. It doesn't keep expanding. We opened this one at $9, and it's been climbing. I mean, no one's really coming in and laying the $9. It's more like you said. It's tied in with these parlays, and I mean, I'm assuming that tomorrow is going to be a big day for the UFC.
Mhm.
I'm expecting that this card to be the highest handle, so I can't imagine that there's not going to be tons of parlays just tied with him in it. So, yeah, we're like you said, we're trying to keep highest on the market until we get a sizable bet on the dog, which I think would stabilize things a little bit. But yeah, we haven't seen any of that yet. So, small sprinkles, nothing massive. So.
Okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Oh,
Still got a
I
young,
also got a
untested
good
kid.
one on the we got a good bet on the total in this one. This one actually moved a lot. I don't want to forget the totals for you guys. This one opened up at 105 on the total. It's sitting 135. We did get a respected bet on the under. So
Ooh.
that one has moved pretty drastically for a total in that aspect from 105 to 135.
Yeah, I like that. I talked about the total on this one. Similar to the other fight we talked about. These are little guys, so it's hard to argue always for that violence. But the way Tatsuro fights, like I just think he's going to dice this kid if he gets him on the ground. But then Edgar was absolutely pounding what's his face, the kid he fought on the Contender Series, Clayton Carpenter.
Uh-huh.
If Tetsuro Taira is not the guy that we think he is when it comes to his standing chops, this one could be over with a big upset pretty quickly too. So I kind of like that under. Thank you very much for letting us know that there was some respected action there on the under 1.5.
Yeah, actually, this card, I will say that there's been some really respected bets on some of the totals, and yeah, we got a couple exciting ones coming up to let you guys know about.
Okay, I love it. Let's go. Next up, Alonzo Manifield, Jimmy Cruz. Now, maybe not a ton of line movement, this week since the booking here, but from the last booking, this is a drastic difference when it comes to this number. Have you enticed anybody on this one since the number is a lot shorter? Because I think Jimmy Cruz was like minus 270 last time they fought.
Yeah. So we actually opened this one at 105. So he was actually the dog when it originally opened, small dog.
Wow.
And we're sitting 130 now. So it's getting bet and it's getting moved in his direction. But like you said, it's not like the last time they fought. And yeah, I mean, this is a good handle fight on both sides. I think people are actually very interested in this fight, and there's been some good action on both sides. Nothing that I would tell you guys about, like respectable bets, but really a lot of action on both sides in this fight. And I think a lot of people have strong opinions on both sides in this one.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a decent bit of tug of war here going on this one. I'm on Jim Crute myself. Got a taste of that little earlier number, so I'm glad the market's kind of moving slowly my direction here on this one. I feel pretty good about that. But
how long was it his layoff? It was like over a year now, or?
It's been close to a year, unless I'm mistaken. Let me just pull this up because I can tell you in about 5 seconds here if you'll give me a minute. Because the last fight was pretty brutal. He took a lot of damage there in that fight, but he was coming off a long layoff for that one also. So I feel like he was a little rusty. Looks like the last fight was 5 months ago. So generally when people take like a really brutal knockout or something like that, personally, I like to see them take 9-ish months off. He didn't get KO'd. I mean, it looks like he might have been out on his feet a little bit. So like it's a tidbit shorter than I would like to see. I'd like him to take 6 to 9 months off, but 5 months is right in that ballpark where it's like, okay, like we're close enough. If they cleared him and he doesn't have a concussion, I think he's okay.
I'm with you. I thought
obviously not a doctor. All right. Next up, Denise Gomes taking on Yasmin Haragi, the lone women's MMA fight on this card, I believe, but still a damn good one, man. Yasmin seems to have absolutely everybody absolutely miffed here. She's so good, 10-0, undefeated, waving that Mexican flag, which seems to be kind of, it's Australia and Mexico here for UFC 290. So she's a decent sized favorite here against Denise Gomes, who is actually a pretty solid prospect herself, a decent bit younger, going to be a little bit smaller. I've seen a lot of people taking a nibble on the dog. Anybody there respected moving in on that side?
Yeah, so we actually opened this one at 460, and there has been some good action on the dog. It's sitting 360 now here in Vegas. So there has been some bets coming in on the dog, and when you get a dog that's like 4-1, that liability adds up pretty quickly. It doesn't take too many big bets to where that starts moving the line a little bit. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's anybody that I'm super like respect, but there has been really good action on the dog in this one for sure.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah, this is one of those ones where I'm like, bring that number down a little bit more. I don't want to bite on the dog. I might end up jumping in on the fave now that she's a little bit cheaper. We'll see what happens though. Next up, Josiah Harrell filling in here on short notice against Jack Della. This is very similar to the Tatsuro spot. 10-1 favorite, Jack Della. I've seen a couple people, I think, nibbling here on Josiah just a little bit. Man, I can't get there. I think this is a showcase spot for Jack. I think Josiah is going to have a hard time closing the distance. And when you're at range against someone like Jack Della, I can't endorse that. So I'm thinking it's still a Jack Della smash.
Yeah, It seems like most of the customers pretty much agree with that. He's another one where, similar to the Tatsuro one, where we're not getting too much pushback, and it climbed from $9 to $10, and it seems like he is one of the guys who is going to be tied into every single parlay. So one of these guys, if we could just knock one of these guys out, one of these big favorites, the book would be sitting absolutely pretty this weekend. I'm not feeling too confident about it because a lot of these guys I think should be as big favorites as they are. But we did get a respected bet on the under in this one. We opened this one at 220. It's sitting 270 now. I know that's pretty chalky, and I'm not one to lay close to $3 on a 1.5 total, but this guy is a very respected bettor, and the market clearly moved with him, and yeah, so we're sitting 270 now on the total.
Okay. All right. That definitely makes sense. And like my guy MMA Jesus in the chat says, JDM round 1. I'm thinking that makes a ton of sense to me too. Next up, we got Nico Price taking on Robbie Lawler for what has been confirmed as Robbie's retirement fight. Man, you guys know me. As soon as that R word gets mentioned, it's only betting against that person. You don't bet on retiring fighters here. Nico Price, a bit of a sketchy customer, though. He has not had the best success himself as of late. So an interesting spot here. Another spot where I've seen some people taking that nibble there on Robbie Lawler. And as long as, my heart goes out to them, right? Like my heart goes out to Robbie. I want to see him get his hand raised one more time. Andrew, I just don't think it's happening, man. What do you see over there?
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been much line movement, but there is definitely people betting on Robbie Lawler. I'm not very surprised by that because he is the big name in this situation, and I think there's a lot of people upset that he's not on the main card over Bo Nickel, who's only fought 4 times, and a guy who's making his debut. But I'm a Bo Nickel guy for sure, so I understand why he's on the main card. But yeah, we opened this one at 250. We're sitting 260. Yeah, I mean, there's been good action on Lawler, and it has not moved the line. So take that as you will. To me, that really does say something. The interesting prop in this is the total. So we opened this one at 150 on the under 2.5. It's sitting 180 now. So there has been some good action on the total, which that is a number that's moved more than the fight. So the fight seems like this is probably roundabout where it's going to be, unless we get some more massive bets on Robbie Lawler. Maybe it will move a little bit. And yeah, I think Nico takes care of business. And like you said, with the retirement stuff, that's got to make you nervous as a bettor. It has to.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I'm a little nervous to lay this kind of a price tag on Nico, man, but at the same time, I just can't talk myself into that Lawler side. So good luck to anybody holding their nose and running with the legend here on this one. We'll see how it goes. Next up, Valentin Woodburn taking on Bo Nickel, 12-1, big underdog, coming in here, trying to upset the apple cart, ruin the UFC's plans. From what I understand, Valentin Woodburn is an actual decent prospect. He's undefeated at this point. He's done some training with Chris Curtis. Like, these are all things that you like to hear. But he's a weight class smaller than Bo Nickel. He is built like a fire hydrant. I'll give him that. But I got a hard time feeling like he's going to be able to stuff Olympic-level takedowns for more than just maybe 1 or 2 attempts. Unless he's just like complete osmosis Chris Curtis's takedown defense throughout his time there training with him. I can't see any other thing but Bo Nickel here. And honestly, I don't even know why you guys bother posting the 30-1 favorite line. Like, this is not a spot that people are going to be able to bet money line unless they're taking that dog shot. And it does feel, again, kind of like a Nickel eventuality type of situation to me here.
Yeah, definitely. This is an interesting one just because I will say that there has been some interest on the dog in this one. I think maybe just because the price obviously is 12-1. So we have been getting hit on the dog in this one. And if this is one where I'm like, if Bo Nickel loses, it probably would not be great for the book just because of how quick that liability adds up. I mean, I've seen some knockout bets on the dog, which is probably his only path to victory, if I had to guess. And
that's your lottery ticket right there.
Yeah, that's your lottery ticket. And he's probably going to have to get it done early and just catch him. And yeah, something that's interesting to me that I was looking into the numbers a little bit. I don't really understand how Bo Nickel is only -$2 to get the submission. Like, I think that price should be much higher than it is. And because he's -$30. Like, I just don't understand how the method of victories it's not more juiced, because it feels like that is the path to victory. He's going. I really just don't see how else. Maybe some ground and pound, maybe, but
So
I
I'll just ask, Andrew, have you ever tried to rear naked choke a fire hydrant?
no, I haven't. But
There's a pretty low success rate, I'll tell you from personal experience. Pretty low success rate choking out fire hydrants.
yeah, those no
Honestly, the
neck
back
guys.
control ground and pound, that might be a sneaky way to get your money in here on Bo, because I'm seeing 2-1 plus 230 plus
Yeah,
250 on nickel
I've
by
seen some
knockout.
250s. Yeah,
If you're gonna take the guy down, they got the Dagestani wrist ride. He might take the back, flatten him out. Like the
yeah,
sub is definitely the most likely, but you won't catch me laying minus 250 on
no,
a method of victory prop.
for sure. But when somebody's a $30 favorite, it just is like it. Wouldn't it be smarter to just bet him by knockout and him by
Yes.
submission than go crazy and lay $30? Like, I don't understand how anybody else wouldn't. If you want to bet this fight and have action, I mean, the only thing that makes logical sense for me is to bet some sort of method of victory here.
Completely agree with you. And frankly, the only thing that makes sense to me, even in that case, is the knockout prop. If you're telling me I can get plus 250 on a 30-1 favorite, the guy who's setting the bar as the literal biggest favorite in UFC history, but there's a way to get plus money on him. If Bo wants a knockout, Bo will get a knockout. So you're just kind of flipping that coin on, does he continue to go for the chokes, or does he decide he
Yeah,
wants a TKO for this one? That's up to Bo, but I got a plus 250 in my pocket. I
yeah.
actually might be finding my way to a sprinkle on the Bo by KO, just because that's really all it comes down to, is how does he want to finish it?
All right, I like it. I do like it.
I think
Can't
it's
lay thirty
interesting.
dollars.
No, can't lay 30. And don't, please, guys, don't parlay Bo nickel. You're gonna move your parlay like 1 cent, unless you've got like one of those parlay boosts on DraftKings or something where you get extra juice per leg or something.
Yeah,
Don't move your parlay 1 cent by parlaying a 31
no.
favorite in Bo nickel. Yes, it's a free square, but it doesn't make you any additional money. So
But if
just
you want to, yeah, feel free to come by the Superbook and yeah, we'll book the action.
exactly. There you go. They'd be more than happy to take your 30-1 parlays. Next up, we got Dan Hooker taking on Jalen Turner. I saw just now, and I see some comments here in the chat. Don't worry, guys. I see you. I didn't miss you. My guy, Jalen Turner, came in at 158, so he did miss weight
Oh
today.
boy.
Now, word on the street is that he went out and trained with Hamzat's been working on his wrestling, and actually had an emphasis on putting on more muscle. And I speculated on Monday, Andrew. I was like, how can this man possibly put on more muscle and
He's
then
so
still
big.
make the weight limit? Makes no sense to me. He is destined for 170 pounds eventually. This is going to be
Yeah.
a Rumble Johnson situation where in 2 years Turner's going to be fighting at 205. Like, I just think he's way too big, and if he's putting on muscle at this age, he's not going to make 155 anymore. However, for poor sap Dan Hooker, who's taken the beating of a lifetime on multiple occasions, he's now fighting a guy who should be a weight class or two up, and he missed weight because of adding on additional muscle. I'm sorry, this isn't that spot where I'm like, ooh, we should fade Jalen Turner because he came in overweight. No. He's carrying muscle, folks. It's Turner by KO. That's going to make my card. I still like Jalen Turner. I think Dan Hooker's being a lamb to slaughter here this week, unfortunately. But I want to hear, Andrew, what you have seen and what the bettors over there that maybe are a little smarter than me are telling us.
Yeah, so this one we opened at 220 on Turner, and it has caught a lot of steam. It's sitting $3 now. I know some of the guys in the back that I'm close to have been on Turner for quite a while, and they've been
Yep.
waiting since the first time this fight got booked. They were looking to bet Turner off the rip, and yeah, I don't see a lot of pushback. There's been a couple bets on the dog here, and I'm interested to see what happens now that he missed weight, if that changes people's perspective a little bit and how that moves the line. But yeah, really so far this is one I can tell you that has been a lot of one-way traffic for sure. And
Okay.
not much on the total, but yeah, we're sitting 1.5 over 30. So yeah.
Okay. All right. I kind of lean this thing going, violence at some point. I'm not sure about that 1.5, if it's going to be a round one finish or not, but I do think eventually one of these guys goes out, whether it's Turner. getting caught with something after slowing down and gassing a bit. Or honestly, I think he just melts Hooker early, probably more than likely. But we'll find out. All right.
Do they ever give this guy Hooker an easy fight? I mean, he goes through the gauntlet. They really send this dude through the gauntlet. He's got tough fight after tough fight, and this is no gimme. I thought Turner actually fought much better against Gamrot than I was expecting. I mean, I felt lucky to cash that ticket, and I was pretty surprised how he landed the more damage. I mean, I get that Gamrot controlled him, but with the judges, you never know what's going to happen in that situation.
We were on opposite sides there, Andrew. I thought I was going to get my Turner money the way that fight played out. That was close.
Yeah.
But Hooker, though, I think a lot of it comes down to it's the notoriety of being at one of the top gyms. He's a training partner of a champion. He's 33 years old. He wants a belt himself. So he's not going to take a step down in competition if he can help it. The UFC literally tried to get Hack Prast and Puelles over the top of him. Like, he's being set up as that gatekeeper, right? Every time he takes a beating from a top guy, they're not giving him a cupcake. They're giving him a guy with hype, hoping that they can kind of take that next step in their career. And he gives these performances when he gets that step down where it's like, y'all must have forgot. Like, this is Dan the Hangman Hooker. He's not some scrub. The difference here is, like you mentioned, Jalen Turner looked fantastic in his last fight. He's massive. He's younger. He hits harder. He's bigger. Like, this is the spot where I feel like, unfortunately, Hooker is trying to take that step up towards the title again, and I just think Turner's going to beat him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the price moving the way it has definitely has me agreeing with you for sure.
For sure. All right, last 3 fights, everybody. Do us a favor and hit that like button. Let everybody know that you enjoy the content here. And we're talking UFC 290, Dricus du Plessis, Robert the Reaper Whittaker. I've been having a tough time breaking down Robert Whittaker fights recently, man. I'm not sure what it is, Andrew. He's a guy that I had just massive piles of respect for, and I kind of keep expecting him to get old. He's taken a ton of damage over the course of his career, but I just kind of finally decided that he's one of the best. If not for Israel Adesanya, he probably is still the champion of this weight class, and because of that, I've gone kind of hands-off recently. But I'm like everybody else, man, and I hate this. I hate being, with the casual opinion, but I kind of feel like the 3-1 on Dricus is intriguing here in this spot. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's explosive, and like I mentioned, all that time in the cage, all that damage accumulated, eventually at some point it's going to add up. I know it's a puncher's chance, but 3-1 is where you take the stab at the puncher's chance. What's the betting market look like for you guys here on this one?
Yeah, so this one has warranted a ton of action. This one is probably one of the most popular bet fights this week for sure. So I kind of got a lot of stuff for this one. One thought is though, like if Izzy would have lost that last fight against Pereira and they set up Whittaker versus Pereira, I think that's such a favorable fight for Whittaker. So like that's another thing. He could have been the champion in that situation too. So like
close.
It really was. But so we opened this one at 4:30 on Whittaker. It's sitting $4. There has been some really good action on the dog, as you have said. Also on the total on this one, we opened this one at 2.5 under 120. We took a sharp bet at 125, and we took another sharp bet at 145 from 2 different customers. So the under in this fight has moved from minus 120, and now we're currently sitting minus 160. So that is something, if you could have got in early on, I would feel real good about. And also, we did take a method of victory, a sharp bet on du Plessis by sub at 20-1. I mean, obviously, it's not a hammer. It's a sprinkle. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't really think that was the path, but it surprised me when I saw it because this guy is absolutely crushing the book. So it's something you got to keep an eye on.
All right. So somebody who is absolutely crushing the book came in and sprinkled du Plessis by sub. I love to hear that because that's been a spot that I've been kind of scratching my head and looking at all week where, if you're going to do money line on a big dog like Dricus, 3-1 is fantastic. The KO prop being 5-1, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about 5-1, but it's not a
Yeah.
giant,
Just
chunk.
bet the 3-1. If you're gonna bet the
Exactly.
knockout, just bet the 3-1.
Just bet the 3-1 bigger. But the sub, I mean, the guy's got 10 submissions over the course of his career. He's got that club and sub ability. And it seems like, I don't know what the deal is, but he sucks the soul out of whoever he's fighting. Like they just
Yeah.
seem to death gas because of the pace that he puts on. Now, Rob is not a guy that's going to do that. We've seen Rob go 25 hard minutes before in title fights. He's not just going to slow down for no reason unless, I think Dreykus did have some kind of surgery to like open up his airways or something weird like that. If
Yeah.
he can push and not gas out like he has in the past, you never know. He's got that tight squeeze on him. He's a freak animal of a human being. He might find his way to the neck. And at 20-1, I like it, Andrew. I might have to get in on that.
Yeah. We aren't sitting there anymore because we really
Sure.
respect that guy's actions. So, but I still think you can get a very big number out there. I've looked around and you can peek around and you'll find some good numbers on that one for sure.
I like it. And Andrew, just real quickly, it seems like every single time you and I do this show, there's people in the chat that maybe don't understand the symbiotic relationship that bettors and bookies tend to have. And when you mention things like, you take someone's action and then move the line accordingly, they don't seem to get that concept. So can you just kind of explain in just kind of short form, you guys have a couple of gamblers that you respect, and not only do you take their action, but unless I'm mistaken, you've offered them higher limits, etc., so that you can get the information, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different categories for bettors, and I'd say that's for what I'm doing, that is probably the most important thing, is to learn our customers. I mean, you don't want to run somebody out of the book who is a respected bet, like you want to book their action because you want to know what side the market is going to move, and you want to know what side should be favored. And you can see it with the line movement on some of these things. These guys know their stuff. I mean, the opening lines aren't always flawless, so it's building these relationships with these customers is important. And we don't hate to see some of the customers that we really respect win. Our goal is to ultimately win with those guys. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of what we do is learning the clientele, and it's ever changing. There's guys that sign up all the time now that we're in all these new states, and it's just it's a grind figuring out who we respect and who gets the higher limits and how these other guys are bet. Some guys like to chase steam and they're just betting numbers that are moving. And yeah, so I mean, there's a difference in all these types of bettors, and they all get kind of different limits.
There you go. All right. And next up, we're talking main event and co-main event for this one. Alexandre Pantoja taking on my guy, Brandon Moreno. This number's been bouncing around all week, Andrew. Absolutely all week.
Yeah.
I love my guy, Brandon Moreno. He is absolutely my favorite fighter on the roster today, my favorite active competitor. I've also done really well on his fights. I've made a lot of money. He may be my number one most profitable fighter. So just for me personally, it's either Moreno or nothing. Like, I'm on the train. My heart is invested, and you can't have your heart invested when you're sports gambling. So my opinion on this fight is already massively skewed, but I just gotta side with the champ. I think he retains. I think this is a legacy spot, and he's treated it as such. He knows he needs to beat this guy that has not one but 2 wins over him in the past if he's gonna be a legitimate champion in that weight class. And I expect we'll see another jump as far as the skill set of Brandon Moreno. Every previous fight that we've seen the last 2-3 years, he's just getting better. Like, it's terrifying because as the champion, he's getting better. I think we're going to see another fold from him here this week. But one of the most popular bets is Alexandre Pantoja because he's got that 2-0 over Brandon Moreno. So what do you make of this one? Have you had two-way action? Or I'm really curious to hear what's happened on your side of things.
Yeah, this one has absolutely stunned me. So I'm a little bit confused on this one. We opened this one Moreno 160. It's sitting 190. We did take a very respected bet on Pantoja, which I agreed with, and I like Pantoja in this spot, but just seeing the way the line hasn't budged is absolutely giving me cold feet, and I'm worried about this one. So yeah, he bet the dog, and there hasn't been too much movement. there has been some action on both sides. It's a very popular fight as well.
Mhm.
But what I had something else to say on this one. We did take some bets on the under as well in this one for sure. Some big bets on
Okay.
the under. So that was interesting to me. And that same guy who bet Du Plessis by not or by sub bet Pantoja by knockout. So I thought that
Ooh,
one was interesting too. So
that
I
is
I don't
interesting.
understand how this reminds me a lot of the last time Izzy fought where I was wrong. Izzy lost the first fight against Pereira, and I just didn't understand how he could still be the favorite, and I was completely wrong, and I can own that I was wrong. But this line confuses the hell out of me, like he beat him twice. How is he such a big favorite? But when this happens, I know myself I should not bet this fight for sure. Should not touch this one.
I gotcha. Yeah, when you're confused about it, don't get financially invested. I'm with you there, man. I'm probably gonna pass on this fight. I might do something with an under, like you're talking about, but I'm picking Brandon. I'm probably staying away from the number because I have a hard time laying 2-1 on a guy that has faced this opponent and failed twice before. So that makes it a little bit intriguing. I'd have to go with a prop bet or an under, something like that, and just cross my fingers and pray my guy Moreno gets his hand raised.
Yeah, and if you look at the line history of the last two fights, the line was much closer, and Pantoja won. And now, I mean, I get it. Moreno has gotten much better, so I
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's just that much better now. But I still think Pantoja is getting better. He looked incredible his last fight. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. I'm confused about this one, and I'm absolutely excited to see it play out. If I had to bet my money, I would bet on Pantoja, and the way the market's going, I'd probably lose.
I love it. I love the honesty. All right. Last fight here for you, folks. Yair Rodriguez, Alexander Volkanovski in the main event. We all know Volk, maybe the greatest fighter on the planet today that's still active. At this point, it's getting hard to argue that resume. Could have won his fight at 155 against Islam. I'm actually a little surprised that in
Yeah,
his own hometown, in his own backyard, he didn't get the nod there. Really can't wait to hear what you've got on this one. I know that the underdog is a big popular bet here this week. Yair Rodriguez. For me personally, I kind of feel like I'm on the Volkanovski side of things. I lean towards Volkanovski by decision, but at the same time, it's a big number, man. What are you
it
guys seeing?
is. Yeah, so we opened this one all the way back in February. This is one of the ones we opened up early. So we opened up Volk at a 420. It steamed up to 450. That's about where it got at its highest point. And then we started getting some respected action on the dog. We're sitting 380 currently on Volk. And like I said, yeah, we have definitely received a few bets on the dog that were influenced the market a little bit. Also, the total has moved a ton in this fight. We opened up the total at over minus 120. It is currently sitting under minus 130. So
Wow.
this one has moved a ton, and there has been respected bets on the under. So that was something that really caught my eye. I don't think I've seen one move that excessively. I thought that was pretty interesting for sure.
That is a significant movement for sure, especially in a guy like Volkanovski, who is kind of proven to be a little bit of a decisionator. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the Yair Rodriguez effect where people are just assuming he's going to get the KO.
Yeah, no, I mean that movement is pretty nuts to me for sure. Like I said, I since I've been booking these and watching these as closely as I have, I don't think I've seen such a big sought after fight move that much on a total.
For sure. That's pretty crazy. All right, Andrew. We kind of have gone top to bottom on this thing. Thank you so much for all the info. I would be doing my viewers a disservice, though. We've mentioned respected bettors a couple of times. Was the big guy on anything this week, though?
No, and
Okay.
I'm upset that last time I came on, I gave his plays and they both lost. And I know people in the chat and stuff are saying I'm throwing you fakes, but you know, everyone loses a bet here and there, and that guy is absolutely crushing us. So it everyone goes through their ups and downs, and yeah, when he bets, I'll always let you know, and hopefully you can let the chat know so they can have some
That's
winners too.
That's the plan, because yeah, now nobody has that 100% hit rate, but he has a pretty damn good record. So when we get the info, we definitely like to know who the big guy is on. Unfortunately, he's not going to get any vengeance this week. We can't tail him for any action at UFC
Yeah.
290, but you guys got all the info. So Andrew, thank you so much for everything. Is there anything you want to shout out to the chat here before we wrap it up?
No, we're just gonna get up those boosts again, and I know this year I haven't been on my best with those. The customers have been getting some good value on those things, so I'm gonna get those back up this afternoon or tomorrow morning, and I'm absolutely excited to see the handle on this card. I cannot wait for this card. So yeah, I'm excited about the card. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't. We get those lines up early, like the Volk fight. All these high anticipated fights we try to get up early, and if you guys want any fights, feel free to message me and I'll try to get them up as early as possible. So yeah.
There you go. You guys got a direct line to Andrew over there at Superbook. Make sure to hit him up on Twitter. Make sure you hit the like button here for us on the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have the Undefeated post weigh-in show this evening. Don't forget, it's a big numbered pay-per-view, so there will be ceremonial weigh-ins, and I will go live tonight at some point after the ceremonial weigh-ins have wrapped up. Unfortunately, those are right around when I eat dinner, so it might be a little bit later of a show tonight than normal, but we'll get you the info, and then we'll bust out the tinfoil hat and finalize those bets. Good luck on all your degenerate action, everybody. We'll see you tonight. Let's roll.